Oh, we're going. Hey, what's up, everybody? I want to first be to apologize. I know it has been probably about 2 weeks since I've put any podcast content out. It's just been super hectic, busy here. Plus, with the weather here in the Midwest currently going right now. So, if you're listening to this right now, it's February 16th. If you're listening to this sometime in the future, today's podcast is still on February 16th, but here, the weather has been super crazy nuts with big snowstorms, so I've been extremely busy the last few days. Anyway, today the topic I wanted to talk about, in lieu of the last one where we talked about proteins, was talking about carbs. Sorry, and how carbs are friends and not the enemy. Thought I was going to say the Nemo line, huh? Carbs are food. Carbs can be found in food. Um, Main sources. So, like, what I want to know is why, and I'd like to know when carbs got such a bad rap. We live in a day and age where people are so afraid of eating carbs or um, doing something else, and they think, oh well, I'm gonna eat carbs, I'm gonna get fat, and it's not true at all. And where people think, oh, I got to do keto to lose all this weight. It's like, no, what's probably happening is you're eating junk, or you're eating too much, or you're not eating enough, and your body's storing, for survival, or and the quality of the carb. Like I said, part of it's junk, part of it could be junk, like you're going fast food, or part of it's just like you're just eating the wrong things. You're not eating the right carbs that your body needs to process. So, I mean, real quick, what are some basic carbohydrate, which is a macronutrient? So we talked about proteins last week, how proteins were a macronutrient and essential in lean muscle development and some other functions. Carbs are another macronutrient that your body can use and store for energy. Too much, like anything else, anything in excess is bad, but too much, and you can start storing in your fat stores. But like we'll get to in the next episode, eating a lipid or eating a fat macronutrient does not make you fat. If anything, the one thing I'll say is the ketogenic diet or plan, or however you want to say it, proves that relying on lipids or fats as your primary fuel source is actually, it works to a degree. It's not sustainable long term unless you have certain conditions, and it shouldn't be looked at that way because we can run into some health complications later on. Again, I'm not a doctor. We'll go into the main wave tops next episode. But carbs, what are the main foods that are carbs, that are carbohydrates? Very basic carb sources. One is fruits. Really, any fruit is a carb and a sugar, which is great for, say, post workout, or I mean, pretty much post workout. Some people want to slam the gummy bears, the pixie sticks, or say a Tootsie Roll. And again, it's all about the same. It's just about what are the other benefits you're trying to achieve. Are you trying to replenish, or are you trying to replenish plus some? So I like fruit as an example because depending on what you go with, whether it's a berry or a pear or an apple, and when I say berry, I mean like literally any berries. Apples and pears are some of the most high fibrous of fruits. So you're getting your carbs, you're getting your clean sugars, and you're getting a lot of fiber, which is fantastic for digestion. So that's another key point of why it's good to not exile carbs out of your diet or out of what you eat day to day, because a lot of these main sources are very good for digestion, making sure the body can process, and very good for storing as energy and not fat. So fruits, whole grains, like legitimate whole grains, not just whole wheat, but something that is literally a whole grain. This can be brown rice. It can be brown or whole grain noodles. So it can be pasta, but not white pasta. I mean, and white rice is kind of the go-to, and there's different back and forth on it. But again, rice in general is a good carb source. Legumes or beans are a good carb source. They're also a partial protein. and rice is a partial protein. So beans and rice kind of make a complete protein source. They marry together. Don't eat too much of it though. But beans are good for your heart, right? Veggies. And some of those within the veggie community, starches are going to be heavier. So watching out for the potatoes or the corn in general. I'm not a big fan of corn personally. I'd rather, if I'm going to go with veggies, I'm probably just going to go potatoes or broccoli or anything else. I mean, celery is pretty much like a negative calorie because there's nothing to it. It's just water and fiber. Something else, just as we look at carb sources, and again, there's others out there that are complementary carbs. Like Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt is a carb and a high protein, especially if you get like the Okos or I think Dannon makes a decent one without getting up into like the Gucci brands. They're very, very clean sources. Or what was I just munching on here? Nuts. Nuts are another one. Higher in fat, sure, but they still have carbs in them, and they also have some protein. So nuts are a great little power snack. Anyway, the biggest reason I bring this up is to really push away from processed food, pushing away from junk, making sure that if you are going to eat carbs, to make sure that they're serving the purpose of giving you energy, helping your body digest. And the reason we do that is we have to really watch out for the glycemic index of carbs. Well, Marcel, what's the glycemic index? Well, it's kind of that thing that measures the value of the foods that will either increase or decrease your blood sugar levels. Now, this is especially key for those people that have diabetes. And there are, of course, diabetes isn't, this is something that you can develop if you're not eating properly or if you're not exercising in a moderate way to take care of yourself. Like we've got one body. Last I checked, like I can't be cloned. I can't get copied over. Reincarnation is a whole nother line of thought for some other people, but in that case, it's a different body, right? So we've got one body. Let's take care of it. Let's be healthy. Let's make right choices. So glycemic indexes, the goal is to ingest foods that produce a steady insulin spike, a steady need for that when we ingest, and I'm going to get to this as we go through the kind of the process from ingestion to elimination, is the biggest struggles that even healthy people have, or relatively healthy people, that if we're eating incorrectly or we're eating way too much of the wrong things, well, when our body goes to digest, say, let's just say carbs, we're going to stick on this, carbs, because when we break down a carb, it breaks down to glucose and sugar, right? And that happens, and the way that's transported through the body is by the pancreas secreting the hormone of insulin, right? So it's okay if we have these like steady kind of helps along the way with the insulin, just to keep the insulin like very steady. What we don't want is we don't want these big spikes, and we don't want these big pitfalls, because that's the moment where, our body is just going to be in such a quick flux, and that we need everything to be quickly digested and then stored or eliminated. So that's going to be something I'm definitely going to continue looking into, because even for myself, this has been kind of a nice little eye-opener to better understand, even for the healthier side of people that don't have to worry about, diabetes, and really understanding, like, if we want to be properly producing and storing proper energy and not storing the wrong things, well, then we need to look at, well, if I eat this, what's the cause and effect? And that should be the biggest thing, is like the body, like we've said so many times, the body is so adaptable. It can do so many wondrous things if we make it do it. It's not going to do it on its own. We have to initiate something through choices. So from start to finish, ingestion, digestion, absorption, and elimination, right? So ingestion, it's either going to happen mechanically, like we eat it, and then chemically as things just kind of move along. Digestion, into the carbs, there's going to be, of course, the glucose, the fructose, and then the galactose, or I can't read my chicken scratch, which will, go into the bloodstream. And it breaks down, like I said before, into glucose and sugars. And as we break down those sugars, the pancreas will release that hormone of insulin. And the insulin is needed to move it to the blood and into the cells for energy, or that ATP. Boom. Okay. So thinking that we don't need carbs is rough. Okay. Because the carbs can be stored as an energy to utilize later on. If anyone is an athlete or anyone works manual labor, look, I'm going to tell you right now, because I've been there, done it, and even in the military, like, carbs are your friends. Don't be an idiot with them. Don't just go carb load every single day of your life. Eat what you need to eat for the activity at hand, or the activity that you're preparing for, or what you're training for. But anyone that's had an MRE, that you legitimately look at the macros, they're super high in carbs, pretty moderate fats, some are higher, and the protein is almost like non-existent. Like, they're getting better with some of the first strike MREs, but at the same time, it's still nowhere where it should be. Here's the thing, though. Meals like that are not designed around making you big and strong. They're literally designed just to give you the energy you need to stay in the fight and keep going. So honestly, that's just there to kind of put that into context. So once we digest it and it's being absorbed into the bloodstream, we need to understand that when we eat carbs, depending on how long that specific carb source is going to take to be digested, or how long that clean sugar source, say like a fruit, is going to be in the system, is how long it can be utilized for. So this could take anywhere between 3 hours to maybe 6 hours post eating something. So this is the other thing. Like, we need, like, very too often, like, especially in the Western diet, we eat way too fast and we eat way too much. Everything you heard growing up about, hey, eat a meal, drink some water with it, wait 20 minutes and your body will tell you it's full, it's true. Okay? Don't just think, oh, I'm still hungry, and I'm just going to sit down and plow through more food. You're going to overeat. Your pancreas is going to, spike the insulin through the roof to try to catch up, and it's going to send you in a tailwind. Why do you think there's a food coma? Well, there's a reason, because the body's like, yo, I got to catch up on what you just did to me, right? So don't treat every day or every week like it's a holiday season, because when we eat, it's stored there anywhere from 3 to 6 hours. This kind of like, and that's kind of like, plan your meals with work, or plan your meals around your workouts, or plan your meals around just your day, your daily activity. This is not hard to do. It just takes work. So how many of us, and I'll call myself out, are just lazy, are just not going to pony up and do the work? You have to plan out if you want to succeed, or have someone there to help you plan out to help you succeed. And the last bit of it is, you have to do it. That's cool if you sit down and you do all this prep work and you plan it all out and you prep everything, and then you just never use it. One, you just wasted your time, your energy, and probably your food. It's probably just sitting in there in your fridge going bad. But the key is doing the work and being consistent at it. Excellency is determined by consistency, right? How good we're going to be at something is determined by how consistent we're going to apply ourselves in, say, this one area. While some human beings can multitask, the biggest thing we need to realize, like, and I heard a fantastic soundbite, is, the way, and I could say it's partially true for myself, but the way the universe kind of works with each individual is, if we directly apply ourselves into one area of focus, that will come true. The moment we consistently move towards a specific objective to obtain or to obtain, it will happen. The moment we start to derail ourselves is the moment that we kind of, we get distracted easier, we get spread thin, we get overworked, is because we're trying to do way too much. And again, there's a lot of us out here that, there's a lot of things we're trying to do that are all coming towards the same goal. So to tie this back into fitness is, with your fitness and your health, no matter what you do, I don't care if it's, you're going to eat carbs, you're not going to eat carbs, you're going to go keto, you're going to go carnivore. Like, I don't really care, but you need to be consistent at it and stop lying to yourself of, well, I know my body and this is what's, well, sometimes the science says otherwise. Or sometimes, honestly, like your whole desire to be, satisfied by that number on the scale doesn't really mean that you're sustaining a good, healthy lifestyle. Like just because you see like 2.5 pound drop in a day, I'm gonna tell you right now, that's not healthy. It's probably just water weight. But when we're eating for life sustaining and longevity, we need to understand that this is a marathon. This is not a sprint to the finish. If you want to sprint to the finish, you need to understand you're probably doing so much damage to yourself. And you just think you're fine because a number is moving. And if you want to consider yourself a number by a number on a device, that's another talk you have to have with yourself. Like I look at a scale of what I sit at right now, and I'm like, not where I'd like to be. But here's the other thing: I have energy. My strength continues to increase. I'm kind of leaning out, which is good. I've had to alter some things, but it's good. But the scale hasn't moved. That's fine. The body is a push and pull all day long, and we just need to realize like how our body is going to process, digest, and eliminate things. So that last step of elimination, we need to realize, especially with carbs, the higher fibers the carb, the greater we're going to reap the benefits of it being digested and eliminated. So a great example of that are like oats or oatmeal. It's a complex carb, which is great, which it's going to release, its energy within, you know, good for us for about an hour to 2 hours. I love it in the morning. When I am eating breakfasts, when I'm not kind of in a fast cycle, oatmeal in the morning was always great. I want to say, if I get up and I eat right around 6 ish, I'll usually like to work out around like 8, and I feel great. It's 7:30 or 8, kind of depending on how heavy the other part of the meal was. But it's complex carb, super high in fiber, and it's longer digesting. So it's going to like take its time, and while it's digesting and doing, it's like while the front end is being processed and stored, the back end is still being worked on. And you're like, well, it's in my system too long. Well, here's the thing, Bob. It doesn't just like, I don't know where you saw in Bio 101 where something drops into your stomach and then the stomach acid just like and it's gone. Like, nah, dude. Like the more, and this is a great one. This is a great segue. So going back to something that's a bad source of a carb. So let's just say like junk food, fast food, over processed, anything in the aisles and not on the outer rim of a grocery market, like super high in sugar, super high in, here's the thing, the more complicated, I shouldn't say complex, but the more complicated the food or fuel source is that you have ingested, no matter what it is, the longer it's going to take your body to process it and break it down. And then when it gets broken down into its chemical level, what's it really being used for? Is it energy, or is it just being stored as sugar and fat? That's how we get fat. We eat too much of the wrong thing, or we eat too little of the wrong thing. Like multiple examples of this. People, and this is not another kind of like, this is just kind of thing on keto. Like people that go keto need to realize, like, because you've taken carbs away, you've taken a very key fuel source away from your body, and you've limited it, which is fine. There's reasons for it. And we've gone so high in fats. The thing is, yes, keto and intermittent fasting work. I mean, they do. You're trying to read it, that state of ketogenesis. I understand it. Okay, run it. But the thing is, like, whether you're doing it intermittent fasted or not, when you hit that eating window or what you do in your day, you still need to eat quite a lot of fats to maintain proper energy, to maintain that proper fuel source. Yeah, I mean, if you're consistent at it, but the answer is not, oh, I can feel my blood sugar crashing, or I can feel low energy, I'm going to go stop by whatever fast food joint and get their fatty McFat meal and just take the bread off, or take, whatever off, and just, eat the meat. Like, look, in theory, sure, that's kind of how it works. In reality, you're not doing yourself any good. All you've done is justify a bad call. Not consistent, not going to be sustainable. Like, our cheat meals really fun on keto? Yeah, I can plow through a lot of boneless wings. I mean, not breaded, not breaded, but yeah, I can plow through a bunch of wings. Awesome, cool. I'll feel great in the morning. It's all fat and protein, sweet. But it's not what we should allow ourselves to do all the time. So going back to the carb thing is, we did fiber. We need to realize that, like, whole oats or just whole grains, they're going to help reduce the blood sugar, and they're going to aid in that digestion. And steel cut or rolled oats are literally the most nutritious and the filling. I love steel cut oats. I just kind of got kicked onto them pretty recently. I usually just did rolled oats or whatnot, and love it. Timing. You need to understand timing. Everything's a little different. Of course, when we eat, because we're not just gonna like just eat a carb source. We're gonna have a balanced meal, right? We're gonna eat a little bit of protein, some carbs. Maybe we'll mix in a little fats there or something else, unless we're trying to keep those pretty low. But we just need to realize, like, that food's gonna be ingested. It's gonna sit, and it needs to be absorbed. Okay, we need to let the body process it. So don't eat too much. Drink a lot of water. The more water we drink, it's like the oil for the machine. All right, well, that and like a fish oil and some other things. So keep your heart and your joints healthy. Drink your water. I was telling somebody this on a job site today. I was like, look, man, if more people, and this wasn't just to him, but he and I have already talked about it. If more people, and this is like my basic of the basic for everybody, if more people would just drink more water, eat more protein, I don't care if that's just protein powder, but like chicken, fish, ground turkey. If you would just eat more of that, drink more water, if you want to take a multivitamin, take some fish oil, either try to eat greens or take greens, and cut out soda and junk, I guarantee you your body will love you in about a week's time to 2 weeks. Allow some adjustment there. But if people could just make those changes, get rid of the stuff I just mentioned, their body would be less inflamed, less bloated. You'd be holding probably less water weight, even though you're drinking more water. Because guess what? So much of our food nowadays has so much salt and sodium and other junk that all it is more water retainment. You cut that out and you start drinking more water, well, boom, all of a sudden, you're probably just going to naturally lean out and drop weight in 2 weeks, which is great. And that's the other thing. Weight loss. What is proper weight loss? Proper, clean weight loss is 1 pound to 2 pounds a week. Not a day, not 2 days, unless here's the thing, unless you're competition, like really cutting. Look, you guys are on your own program. I hope you have a coach. If you do it on your own, just be smart about it. But 1 pound to 2 pounds of weight loss per week. You can do the same thing to gain. Probably some pretty clean gains, kind of depending on how hard and how fast you're trying to go. All in all, remember that we need to eat balanced for whatever your goals are. Avoid spiking that insulin so that we can actually secrete that into the bloodstream and use it for energy and not store it as fat. Everybody, I hope you like this. I hope it made sense. I know I kind of bounce back and forth sometimes. I do my best to try to just put common sense knowledge out there. So some of you are probably listening to this. Well, how many carbs should I eat in a day? I don't know, dude. I don't know what your body wants. I don't know what your goals are. I'm roughly a 215-pound adult male. Right now, I'm probably only eating about 180 to 200 grams of carbs a day, and I'm trying to average now about anywhere between, well, just because of the situation we're in, I'm just probably eating about 200 grams of protein. I'm not worried about like big muscle mass right now. Kind of in a transition with something else, and then I keep my fats, like right now I'm going to keep them at around 60 grams a day. Some people on here may be like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do. Oh, look, dude, I've been doing some push and pull for a lot of years, and so right now I'm just kind of pulling back a little bit. We're going to see what happens. So you know, when I get someone that comes on as a client, so here's a good example. When I get someone that comes on a client or even a nutrition client, because, you know, somebody either wants training and nutrition or just nutrition. So based right out of the gate, if somebody is looking, I'm going to give two examples here. If someone's looking to get stronger, add lean mass, and say they weigh 180, okay, they want to add lean mass, that, you know, but they're not trying to get super big, they're not trying to cut. I'm like, okay, well, let's keep, you know, and if they haven't tracked up to that point, we have to find a baseline. We have to find what works. So yeah, right out of the gate, I'm probably be like, well, let's put your protein at 200. Let's put your carbs at 180. And again, if you're adult male, I'm probably just going to throw your fats around 60 or 70 grams. Just to, and again, it's literally just to see what your body does. Okay. If you're cutting, if you're trying to lose some, okay, and say they weigh 180, I'm probably going to say, hey, let's put your proteins at 180 and let's put your carb. Shoot, I didn't have this plan, so I didn't do the math on a piece of paper yet. But let's put your protein at 180, and that's if they're holding good muscle mass at that point. If they're not, I may bump that a bit, and then I may say like, hey, let's put your carbs at, you know, 160, 170. You know, let me see what your body does in a week or two. You know, and of course we do weekly check-ins, and then again with your fats, I'm like, oh, let's just stay at like 60, you know, 50, 60 grams. So again, seeing what happens. So it'll just be the baseline. Like, honestly, like if you're just looking to maintain, like if I was just looking to maintain right now, which I'm just kind of like, I'm kind of cutting back, trying to lean out a bit. My training has changed just a tad. So again, if I'm just looking to kind of like maintain and sit, it's going to be 200, and about 60 or 70 grams. So what I just said was 200 grams of protein, 200 grams of carbs, and 50, 60 or 70 grams of fats. Now, if someone is super deconditioned, so away from myself, you know, I train every day, maybe some of that's 2 days a week. Okay. If someone is very deconditioned, and as I heard someone else say, like the Homer Simpson body, okay, which, hey, I love donuts, don't get me wrong. And say you weigh like 270, 280, right? Okay. Now, we got to realize that, you know, if we cut back, but we build muscle and say, then we become like 280 of solid muscle, then great. Not always the case. Okay. A lot of us are 280. A lot of people out there walking around 280, and it's not a healthy 280. So what do we need to do? Well, we can, you know, some people would be like, well, you know, I need to be eating a pound of, or a gram of protein per pound of body weight. I was like, well, great. You want to start eating like a bodybuilder and eating 280 grams of protein or more a day? No, I don't think so. I don't want to either. Even when I was gaining, I didn't want to do that. Okay. What's their realistic weight? What's for their height? That's not a good example, but where should they be? Healthy range. So if someone was like 280, I'd be like, okay, dude, well, we need to be in a deficit. I don't want to crash you. And a person like this probably isn't eating enough of the right things anyway. So any change I make in a healthier direction is going to change them, but I still don't want them eating too much. So again, there's a 2-week play window where we're going to see what happens. So someone like that, I may be like, hey man, like you got to find out their eating habits. You got to find out what it is they're eating or not eating, for that matter. We're like, okay, well, we're going to have to buckle down. We've got to start tracking food. We've got to start tracking amounts, or just helping teach somebody serving sizes or portion sizing was what I was trying to say, portion sizing. So with that, I'd probably tell somebody like, hey man, you're 280, but like honestly, like without getting you on a DEXA scanner or like with an in-body to like really see, I'm probably going to put your proteins probably anywhere between 225 and 240. I'm probably going to put your carbs probably about 220. And I'm going to put your fats at about 80 to 90. Okay. And you're going to have to track it. You have to consistency is key to excellence. And the last dude that I kind of worked with that was kind of around this, like, yeah, actually in 2 weeks, he in his first week, he lost, I want to say about 8. No, not 8. It's 2. In his first 3.5 weeks, we lost roughly about 8 pounds, which there was some push and pull there. And a lot of it was just proper water, got rid of soda. And again, there was just a lot of habits that weren't good. Okay. There was soda, there was eating out. There was, with that, there was the fast food, not eating enough of the right things. So even with the levels I did, and again, I'll catch flack for it, but again, every week was a little push and pull on those numbers. Okay. How's your energy? How's your strength? Are you working out? Did you miss a day? Your cardio, is it there? Is your water, is it there? You know, it's a constant dialogue with people. Okay. And a lot of those numbers were like off the hip without looking at his file. But I hope this helps. I hope this made sense. Again, carbs are your friend. There's no reason to get rid of them unless you can't have them for obvious medical reasons. And to go at it by yourself, to try to make changes to better your life, can be hard because sometimes you can't tell yourself the hard truth, and you need to find somebody that can help you. I don't care if that's me, I don't care if that's somebody else you know, but the biggest reason trainers still have a job is we bring a level of accountability. We bring a level of knowledge that another person may not have. Like, shoot, I've got a lot of clients in their own field that are way smarter than I am. They know a lot more. I've got an older guy that I train. He knows a lot more about hormone replacement therapy or testosterone replacement therapy than I have ever even thought of looking into. And I learn things every day from him. Again, that'll be another topic I probably research, but there's a lot of other things out there. So all I'm doing to bring that example up is find a professional. Find someone that will put you on the right path and will have a team in place to be able to help you achieve the goals in the right way. Because all too often, like, again, as we go at it by ourselves, sometimes we may end up just lying to ourselves, saying like, well, this is, I know my body and this and that, or, you know, my body might, you know, all for it. I don't care what you do. All right. But when science and other professionals say otherwise, look, I don't know. And the only ones that go against all that are bodybuilders. Like, everything the science says is one thing. Everything that they're able to achieve can be either coincide or completely different, and the results still happen. Okay. But again, especially in that realm, consistent discipline, like to the T. I applaud everyone in the elite fitness spectrums, no matter what your sport or discipline is. I applaud all of you. I think it's crazy. And for everyone else out there making changes and trying to be consistent and getting after it, awesome. I'm proud of everyone. I hope everyone has a really good rest of your week. And let me know what else you'd like me to talk about. Anyway, you guys take care.